This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by The Last Breeds. Available where all comics and books are sold.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm here with my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry, who is known the world over as Chasing Artwork. Also, writer, letterer, general creative about town, Lyndon. We are here to talk about not only how stories get made, but, dear listener, we have been spending some time the last hour here at the studio, working at our desks, sharing our lamentations of a certain element of the creative life. And we thought we would record part of this conversation. Our job is going to be, and this is my tacit reminder to the two of you, our job is to frame this positively for the dear listener. There's a lot in here that I don't like that we're going to talk about. And there's a lot of things that make me go to places of sarcasm, derision, downright pettiness. I'm going to try to avoid that and frame it as a learning experience. And I think we have all had different facets. So this all comes about, dear listener, because Blood of the Saucerman, Laundryman Book 2, has just completed a successful Kickstarter, and we should all be clinking our glasses in celebration. Right, Lyndon? Beautiful. But instead, we found ourselves talking about a bunch of the repulsive essentials.
Yeah, this is not an episode promoting a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's almost the opposite.
Yeah, no, it feels like we've been talking about Kickstarter, promoting Kickstarters for the last while.
Yeah.
You know, between the different episodes that have been coming out. I finally thought of something positive related to the Kickstarter experience.
Okay, hold on to it. Don't share it
All right,
yet,
okay.
because we have to frame what it is that we are talking about.
Okay.
And so why don't you just talk a little bit about, first, what the goal was, what the plan was, what you're doing with the book, succinctly, because again, we're not promoting the Kickstarter. It's over.
No, it's over.
Right? Just so that there's a context to what we're talking about.
Okay, so for the dear listener, Stephen Call and I were producing our second Laundryman volume, Blood of the Saucerman. We launched a Kickstarter campaign for it. It ran for 28 days. Our funding goal was $4,500 Canadian. And the campaign wrapped about a week ago now. I've had a little bit of time to decompress and think about it. Ask Stephen for his thoughts. And our ending total in that Kickstarter was, I would have to look at 64 something minus some failed pledges. It came out to 6,300 something Canadian.
So, not a kingly sum,
No.
but
Enough to print the book.
enough to print the book.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true.
That's not necessarily true. Not to denigrate anyone who has actual PTSD, but I made a joke before we started that this is like post-traumatic Kickstarter syndrome that we're going to be talking about. And it came up because this might not be the posting order of the episodes, but in chronological time, we recently recorded an episode with Stephanie Guest about the difficulties of Kickstarter and how the platform has changed and how the general way in which you reach a new audience, that aperture is narrowing, and the organic growth on these platforms is narrowing to the point where if you don't already have that following, it's very difficult to get the attention, wrest the attention in this new attention warfare economy from the places that are already sucking it up.
You talk about things like Instagram, whereas like back in the day, you used to be able to post something and people who followed you saw it. And now when you post something, it's buried underneath a million reels and AI videos and promotions, and it's so hard to actually get at the people you're following at Instagram and for them to get at you. And so we've all noticed, especially, I feel like, creatives have been getting less and less out of platforms like that lately.
Yeah. And, you know, as a fan of celestial mechanics, I actually mean that literally. The gravity of distant objects play a part, but they can't necessarily, doesn't necessarily overwhelm the thing you're doing. You know, how you design your craft, the thrust of that craft, what its payload is. You can ignore distant gravity, but those distant gravities in those platforms really that come from the fact that venture capital is no longer present. So they now have to extract capital. That gravity is now affecting all launches into any of those platform spaces. And so you have to plan your trajectory differently. The thing I most want to say comes from, or I think I want to begin our conversation with to address it, comes this piece of paper I'm rattling.
We got mail.
Yeah.
We got letters.
We get letters all the time.
Yes, here at the studio we do. And Stephen Call, though, this comes from your collaborator, Stephen Call, and he said something really important. So in his own words, I'm going to read this section and then we're going to discuss it. Ultimately, I love that people like our stuff. I like that I get the approval from readers, but it does not dictate whether or not I make stuff. The need for people to like my work is something I am very good at and very comfortable with staying away from. So, to put myself in a place where that's all I thought about, that was a very shitty feeling. I did not like being on edge for an entire month.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the thoughts of others is literally one of the key definitions of dysfunctional anxiety. To believe you're in the thoughts of others is what you would talk to your therapist about. And your therapist would say, hey, people don't think about you that much. But in this case, you need them to.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think that's healthy for people right now. Discuss. How do you like being internet famous, Justin?
I'm not. Not even close.
Yeah. Compared to us, though, your star burns brighter.
It's true.
Even when I think about stuff like that, there's Todd McFarlane had a great quote of the Spawn Instagram has something like 2 million followers. And even if he got every single one of those followers to pay attention to a post, the percentage of people that he's reached is still closer to zero in like the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
The internet is not a real place,
Yeah.
some people say. Yeah.
I like holding on to that because it's a little more freeing than thinking about all those eyes that are on you.
You have to go slow. That's my hot take here. My hot take, dear listener, is there's no shortcuts.
Well,
You just put your time in over decades.
Yeah, it's more about you. It's for yourself. The more you think about what you think people want and what they're hoping to get out of you, it's like a loop that you kind of get stuck in, and I think ultimately it leads to less great stuff coming from you because you're trying to do what people want rather than what you want.
Yeah, and that's what our pal Steven is getting at, is like having this thing on your mind gets in the way of the work that you're doing for you, which you're happy to share, but that's after, right?
And one of the other things that I want to tie into this, to really tangible related to the Kickstarter, is how, having now done this twice, once for the Laundryman 1 and now for the Laundryman 2, the market's completely shifted from the one when we did this 3 years ago. And it feels like as Justin said, getting the internet's eyes on your work is so much more difficult.
It used to be fun.
It used to be kind of fun, but also it used to feel kind of worth it.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't feel that way now.
Yeah.
Like we, as Steven said, we put all this work into a month-long campaign, but the campaign's essentially 2 days.
Two
It's
of the
the
key
first
days, yeah.
day and the last day.
Yeah.
And almost nothing in the middle. It feels like, comparatively.
Public's out there throwing darts at a board sport. I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things. Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it.
Now, dear listener, I will say, if you're somebody listening, and we know a few people who have run some very successful Kickstarters that have regular uptick over the course of the campaign, we're not talking about you. We know, like, there are people who are making, $50,000, $100,000 on a Kickstarter campaign over the course of 28 days. Stuff is rolling in regularly. But that doesn't come out of nowhere anymore. That used to come out of nowhere. Now those campaigns, if you look at how the data breaks down in Kickstarter, and I'm by no means an expert, but I've familiarized myself with the trends in there. Those campaigns that are doing those numbers quickly and steadily are the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 10th, or 15th, or 20th offering from a company that primarily uses Kickstarter as a pre-order system now.
Right. Yeah.
So they've built they use the platform to prove themselves, and then they keep going to the same well, and people trust them. And the people don't take chances anymore out there because they've been burned. They've been hurt too many times.
Yeah, I think that's something you both talked with Steph about.
Yeah. Too many creators saw it as, ooh, easy money.
Yeah, ATM.
Any idea I come up with, I can get money for without doing all the work.
Right.
And this was especially in, it seems like in the tech section and the video game section, some like really massive campaigns that like garnered like millions of dollars, and then the company went poof and disappeared and people got screwed over. That happened enough times and all those stories went viral.
That poisoned the well.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
This also, when we sat down to talk about it, Lyndon, you said, I don't know if we're even going to be talking really about Kickstarter in general, but more about this wider trend we see of a change in the habits related to, I don't know how we want to classify it, fandom. See, where all of our work overlaps, the Venn diagram where all of us have a common ground and can take samples from, is that we visit the convention space where all these fandoms overlap. And so there's a cross section of people who like a lot of stuff. They like a lot of stuff that I dislike or have no interest in. But what we all have in common is what brought us to that spot. And so that's what I want to focus on, is those commonalities. And the analogy that I used before we started recording, dear listener, was the notion that Justin trains pretty regularly. Both Lyndon and Justin train at boxing. And if they get into the ring with someone for some friendly sparring, I ask them, and so I'll ask them here for the purposes of our example. Justin, if you get into a ring with someone, do you know right away whether they're good at boxing?
Within the first 20 seconds, you kind of know if they know what they're doing. Yeah. Or you're in over your head, or, oh, this is going to be fun. We're similarly matched. And it's really hard to tell until you engage with them. Like, there's people that you see hitting the bag and they look really good hitting the bag. But then when you get in the ring with them, they're like, oh, no, they don't know what they're like.
Right.
Like, you can look really good punching the bag, but once you're in with an opponent, it's a whole different thing. And
now the reason I want to bring this up is that while that sounds simple, what's actually at work is thousands of computations and hundreds of micro expressions and ways that they're carrying themselves as they get in there, where their feet are, where their hands are, where their breath is, where their head is, where their eyes are going. All those things are happening.
How they react to getting hit.
Right. All those things are happening, and you're not conscious of it. You're just aware of it. I feel like in that same way, there's a new fighter in the ring in fandom, which is like how the market is responding to things now. And it's similar to what we're used to, but it's behaving in very different ways. There's stuff we don't know about it yet. And I think we're all feeling it in different places and ways. What do you think about that? The way of breaking it down.
Let me ask, what would be the next best case scenario? Like, you guys worked on a project, you wanted to get it out there, you wanted to get it made into a real thing. Kickstarter, even though like it sounds like you didn't have the most fun with it this time, allowed you to do that under your own art direction, and you made your own decisions, and there was nobody else really, with their hands in the cookie jar that was this project. Yeah. What's another scenario where this book actually happens where you guys had that amount of control?
It's not about the amount of control.
Yeah, let's stick it to Lyndon for a little while.
Well, just
No.
Kickstarter can do some really great things.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm going to get into some granular detail.
Yeah, you're not sour grapesing.
No, not at all. So when we did this 3 years ago, our goal was $2,500 and we made $5,000. This campaign, we started our promotion cycle earlier, like a year in advance. We had 334 project follows on it. We booked, I think, 8 or 9 podcast appearances. We had a printed ad for the books in Death Fight Forever #1 from Image Comics, which I lettered. So we had printed media also. And so I think...
Like in comic stores, in a very focused place where people like stuff.
And in addition to all of that, the campaign had double the amount of books to offer.
Right.
So you could buy book 2, but you could also buy book 2 and 1. Yeah. We had so many more books that we'd produced in the last 3 years that we were offering as add-ons. And so there was a lot more that you could get from us in this campaign.
And you campaigned like 10 times harder than you did the first
Right. And so we anticipated or hoped for, I think is the better phrase here, a proportional uptick in the success of the Kickstarter.
You wanted a result from all that effort.
Yeah.
Right.
And disappointment is the difference between expectation and reality.
Right. So the reality is that when we launched, in the first 24 hours of our campaign, I think we did $2,000 in sales versus our campaign 3 years ago where we did $1,800 of sales in the first 24 hours. And anyone who's ran a Kickstarter can tell you your first 3 days are sort of your peak period, followed by your last 2 or 3 days of that campaign. And then the space in the middle is sort of what you make of it.
I will point out, and maybe for the dear listener, some context, though I am the son of 2 educators, I'm also the son of a person who's spent their life working in the stock market. And the first thing that person would say to you is, you cannot compare any 2 months at any time on any timeline and expect to track similar results.
Right. But I'm using this as an example for us to observe how the market has shifted in that time.
Yes.
And the common, I don't think that my perspective is uncommon.
No, it's not.
For
that's what
the
we're talking
average
about.
Person
that's what we get.
Approaching a Kickstarter. And so to get into further detail here, after that first day, the campaign essentially stalled. And we noticed almost no growth for the next 5 days. And then around that week period, I approached Stephen and suggested that similar to in our first campaign, we had a specific tier where I would come in and I would letter someone's work for them and I would put that labor towards the Kickstarter, which would go towards printing the book, rather than taking on that money myself, which I normally would.
And dear listener, this happens in a lot of creative Kickstarters where someone who is an illustrator, a writer, a designer, a editor, a filmmaker, they will offer their services as a package that you can purchase. So it's like, oh, do you like this book? I could do this kind of stuff for you for X dollars. And so those are the kind of packages that are often offered on a lot of Kickstarters.
Right. Yeah. There's commissions, there's editorial, there's script review, there's project overview, all these
blue pencil
all these
sessions from editor or whatever.
So don't make any mistake here. The campaign was still going. We were seeing a slow uptick, but it was nowhere near the trajectory that first day had or that we were hoping for at this point, because it was important to us that this book get made. I took the idea of bringing that tier back to the Kickstarter. That wasn't originally something Stephen and I had planned on.
Right. Because you thought with all these efforts, there'll be a return.
Right. We'll fund the book on the merits of the book rather than the services of the creatives.
This painting here, I I bought it 10 years ago for $60,000. I could sell it today for $600. The illusion has become real. And the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it.
We've said earlier in an earlier podcast, I'm expecting a child, like my wife and I are expecting a child, that money for services is much more needed in my bank account
That's right.
than the book printing.
That's right.
But the book needed to get printed.
Because life is happening also.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had at that time a number of clients who had asked if I would be interested in taking on work from them. And I obviously said yes, but what Stephen and I ended up doing was bringing that tier back. I added to the Kickstarter an option where I would letter someone's comics and that labor would go towards the Kickstarter.
And this is important because if you offer that and that money goes into the campaign, it lifts the perception of that little green line. Right? People look at it. People don't back a book that seems to be failing or back a project of any sort that seems to be failing, but one that is on its way to crossing the finish line or just has. You're like, oh, well, you're betting on a sure thing.
That's why a lot of people start with that. In the first 24 hours, you get bonus item with your purchase, or it's free shipping if you buy in the first 72 hours or something like that, to just make that initial surge.
Right. Well, and Kickstarter internally promotes successful campaigns more prominently. There's, again, the added perception that a successful project has less risk for someone to get bitten on when they're backing it.
Remember when we got Projects We Love awarded for Dire Beast and it barely moved the needle, if at all?
Yeah, front page or whatever. It depends what people are looking at. Now, this all seems like...
But I'm not done my story.
Oh, yes.
And I just wanted to finish this by saying that helped. That client money went into the campaign and it helped us reach our perceived funding goal sooner. But what it did on the back end then was raise what our actual funding goal was if we wanted to.
Yeah, because that money doesn't go towards the book.
Well, it would, but we'd prefer for it not to.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you don't want to do the writing, do the design, do the illustration, and then also sell extra time
right
into the book labor.
Right. So we still wanted the book to fund on the merits of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the back end, it raises that what we actually need to make to meet that goal, even though on the surface, it looks like we've totally funded what our goal is to print. And if the reality was that we had just hit our $4,500 goal and all of that labor needed to go into lettering to make that printing happen, so be it. That is something that would be done. But as I said, the preference was we sell enough books to pay for the printing of the book. And so the vision, and I think something that not everyone talks about in a public forum on Kickstarter, are these sort of background considerations.
Oh man, I've heard so many tales. Some of these are legendary, and some of these I've seen firsthand, where a backer is kept in the wings. A family member, a friend, a loved one, with their credit card ready.
That was not done here, just to be clear.
This is what I'm saying. So that, and the reason being is that if you're trying to raise 50 grand and you got 40 and you're short 10, in order to earn 30, you got to put 10 on your credit card. Right. Which we've heard happen a lot. Right. And it's actually against the terms of service of Kickstarter to do that. But people do it all the time by just being one step removed. Right. Calling up their uncle and saying, do you mind doing this? Right.
Dear Kickstarter, that is not what happened here. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Services were offered and services will be provided.
Services were rendered.
In relation to this work.
Yeah. No embezzlement. Lyndon was really clear that he's like, don't make it seem like I embezzled money through my Kickstarter. No, not at all. Okay. All that being said, as a capsulation, I'm just going to wrap a little bow around the whole thing. You've made a thing that you love.
Right.
You want to bring it to a market that you hope will love it. It's never up to you whether people like something.
Right.
And so it's important as an artist to build a healthy relationship, as Stephen points out, with why you do the work and why other people might like it, but not needing them to like it in order to do the work. Then along comes market forces and the repulsive essentials of keeping your lights on, printing the book, getting it places, all of that stuff. And now the fiduciary mechanisms start to affect how and why you are doing it, change how you are connecting with the labor of promotion. Added to that, this shift where the first time you put out a book, you were able to put in a certain amount of effort and get a certain result. You did 10 times as much effort and you got the same result.
Yeah.
One cannot help but imagine, in order to get the same result next time, does that mean you have to put in 100 times the effort to get the same result?
Who knows? But like you said, you cannot predict the future based on the past.
That's right.
So we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But what it made me do was look at, as we were saying, look at the market forces. Is Kickstarter going to continue to be a viable marketplace for indie comics that sit outside of very specific genres that are successful on Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Because there are some genres that are more successful on the platform than others.
Yeah, you know, there are some stores that are more successful. There are some pizza slices that are more accessible.
Yeah.
You know, it's just what people's tastes vary and they change pretty wildly. But so like my, I'll say that I don't have a Kickstarter running, but what I do have is in this chronological time, I don't know when we're posting this, like I said, but in chronological time, yesterday was the international release date through our book distributor of Last Breeds, the graphic novel that I worked on with Scott Henderson and Jonathan Ball and Matt Medney. And and Lyndon is our letterer on that book too.
Available now?
Available everywhere, where all books are, is what it's supposed to be. And that should be that, right?
Right.
Right. But instead, what we have to do is we had a meeting about all these, and I'll say it, because I said it in the meeting too, when we had it, cringy elements of promotion, where we have to, like, one of the jokes about Last Breeds is that it started as a pitch for an asshole Tarzan book. And all the social media people that have been just, you know, consulted about this are like, oh, we got to lead with that because it's a swear, it's a little bit divisive. People will.
It's an existing property.
It's an existing property. That's how you should market the book, based on comparing it immediately to another thing that you say is bad somehow, and then people have to question it. I hate that so much. And lo and behold, I opened my Instagram today to find that the Myth and Me podcast that we were on, that's the clip they pulled.
Right.
With my permission, because I said, of course, you can use anything that we say here to promote the book.
Right.
That's the one that comes front and center to be pushed onto social media, which I made a collaborator on. And by the way, clicked yes, allow.
Yeah.
Even though I myself don't think that's the important part of the idea of the book, the story. Right. And so by 1,000 cuts, we're going to be eroded to promote the book, like chasing the dollar just to make anyone see it. It's hard for me.
And I'm coming back to this. I don't think, like in the current version of social media, that marketing translates.
Yeah, no one's going to go, oh, great, and then I want to read a book now. Yeah.
No, that doesn't seem to be how it works now.
Yeah.
Like it feels like we talk about this in the studio somewhat, but it feels like we as a society are coming back around to analog media.
Oh, and I love it. And we've been relying, Justin, you and I have been relying on people loving analog for the last decade. That's what shows are. People show up in person
and
pick up the object and go, this is for me.
And the thing that, marketing firms already recognize it, but we're seeing the real power of it now is the power of word of mouth marketing. That's the only way now to read something or to find something. It's not in the social media anymore. We did a book workshop 2 weeks ago, Gregory, and you're like, oh, this book's really good. Here it is. Read it. I read it.
Yeah, that's right.
I wouldn't have read it otherwise.
That's right.
No chance. You could have recommended it to me for months.
Yeah.
But if you didn't hand it to me, the book, I would not have read it.
Last night I was reading Rudy the story of Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Pot. You know what happened? Stuck his nose in the pot once too often, and he got stuck.
Maybe you ought to read him Pinocchio, Gordon.
And that's how the book was marketed to me, not by being marketed.
Right.
Someone who had read the book, and it had been recommended to them. Well, and we can say to them, Sam Biko recommended to me, said, you got to read this book. Look at this book. Read it. Where did you get it? Oh, Ravens Den recommended it to me.
Right.
Put it in my hand, said they would love it.
Right.
And a book can travel. An object that has the promise of its premise can reward you in a way that you want to share it. And that's what you want. You want that shared experience.
Yeah.
What it really is a quest for that shared experience. As a funny aside, in this very room, just a few hours ago, 3 or 4 different conversations had to be tabled because one of the 4 people in the room hadn't read it yet, hadn't seen it yet, hadn't watched it or heard it, and didn't want spoilers.
Right.
So we were about to share or talk about stuff we loved, and then someone was like, oh, no, don't say anything about that yet. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And so we just have... So really what you're looking for is that shared experience.
Yeah.
Like it matters more to me that Sam recommended the book to me and I recommended it to you, and the 3 of us will be able to talk about what we liked or didn't like about it the next time we're on the road somewhere.
Right.
That means more to me than whether the book was actually good. Right?
Right.
And is it also like the dilution of online advertising? When you used to see an online ad for a book, it wasn't the millionth you'd seen that month.
That's right. Yeah.
And now we're getting constantly bombarded and we're targeted, right? They know you're into sci-fi. So that's like they're showing you sci-fi books all the time.
Yeah.
And so it just means less and less and less.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I feel like the closest comparison I can get to this is when you see something online that's AI generated, there's a part of you internally that recognizes this is AI generated. There's something off about this.
Yeah.
And that's what advertising feels like right now.
Totally, yeah. You know about the fighter. This is what I'm saying. We sense something different about that fighter in the ring. My closest analogy, I never boxed, but I did for a number of years.
You come on down anytime.
Right?
We'll show you how
I did
it
full
works.
weight fencing, so we would fight with swords. Right? And you knew instantly on how the person dipped the pommel in the first few seconds, whether or not it was going to hurt. Right? It's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like that. And this is what I'm feeling like. There's a person there. Now that I've made that analogy, my brain went somewhere. In my misspent youth, in fact, no, this was not misspent. In the good part of my youth, when I did a lot more public service, I worked at group homes. And there's a part of your brain that knows when someone means you harm, like real harm. And in many years of working in those group homes, only twice did I ever know that the person meant me real harm. But dozens of instances where I had to disarm a piece of broken glass, where someone had come across the table at me, where like violence was on offer, but I didn't feel like I was in danger.
Right.
Right. And none of those people who really knew what they were doing or knew what they were capable of doing ever telegraphed it. But you got a sense of a readiness that something was about to happen. This is what I feel in the online space. There's something that's about to happen and it isn't good. That's how I feel about all of these platforms and all of these things. And I just know that it's not, I don't know what it is.
Well, I think that's...
I know it ain't good.
You're not alone in that, because I work in social media marketing. That's part of my client-facing jobs.
Yeah.
So I end up reading, the trends and how things, what direction marketing is going in. And one of the things that stick out to me, particularly right now, and this is my interpretation of it, this is not from a report, is that as we continue, I think people right now are more siloed than ever before on social media and in their houses. And everyone is starting to recognize that. The groups that are online, chronically online, as we say, are starting to recognize that.
In themselves, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reaction to that is that people are now searching for authenticity and spontaneity and community.
But advertisers have taken over those words now.
They're trying to. But again, they're manufacturing it in a way that when your brain sees it, it recognizes something's wrong with it.
Live, laugh, love.
You
know it's wrong now.
You can't recreate the authenticity, quote, of those actual things.
Yeah.
You can only create an approximation of them.
Yeah. And I wonder too, they say you'll use everything you ever learned, right? And so in 10 years of doing in-person events, where sometimes our only goal, Justin knows this, our only goal with a new piece of work that we've made is to have 1,000 people look at it. Whether they like it or not, whether they're interested in purchasing it, we put it in the portfolio because, man, I loved working on this. Mm-hmm. It's coming on the journey. It's coming with me to 10 cities no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And that, in a way, let's call it what it is. That totally self-serving, personal, ego-driven desire to just see, does anyone else feel this too? Feel this way too? I think builds up a little bit of a sensitivity to these market forces we're talking about, right? Because you could tell when someone flips, the flip, when there's that pause, they've turned the page in the big portfolio and they take in their breath a little bit and their eye does the full Z down the composition and then traces to parts they've liked.
The best is a group of like mid 30-year-old guys that like
are not allowed to express their feelings in any regular avenue.
That's right. Now they have a place to do it collectively.
And they usually know like this is for this guy. Like we're all like hyping it up like, this is
Evan, come here, Evan. Yeah, those guys. Yeah, it's totally true. My equivalent to that is when somebody calls a spouse over. That's when it feels. And keep in mind, dear listener, I'm not talking about someone saying they want to buy it. That's totally a separate thing. This is just they want to share that experience. Hey, I see you, my spouse, my loved one, in something in this. Right. Come over and tell me, was I right?
Right. Yeah.
And they go, oh, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And if their hand traces over it, that plastic shell a little bit, and they pause for a moment and consider where it fits in their cosmology, then that piece has earned its keep for me for those 10 cities, whether I sell one or I sell 1,000, it does not matter.
Right.
Because when you first make something, you also love it, right? And you just want, you become jaded for a piece that always has a certain effect after a while. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's where we're at. We're used to a certain effect.
Well, I've always, like, Kickstarter, Instagram, DeviantArts, Imager, Reddit, like, name it. It's always just been, like, kind of a bonus.
Yeah.
The real market, the real test is going to these events in person. And even my online store, like it's just an extra thing. And sometimes it seems to work and sometimes it doesn't, but it's never been the main focus. The main focus has always been loading up the car and going to Comic-Con and setting up the booth. Yeah. And that's where like the real work is appreciated. I don't know.
Turns out hard work slowly is the secret.
Yeah.
And not on the internet.
Yeah, hard work slowly.
But I think we've been at this long enough that like all these platforms that like at one point we're like, this is amazing. I'm getting great engagement. People are freaking out. Like I'm having so much fun with blank. Yeah. And one by one, those disappear, change, you find new ones. And so it all seems temperamental. And maybe like, maybe there's some new things to figure out about Kickstarter that we don't, or maybe it's just on its way out and there's something else coming.
Right.
But again, you can't rely on any of them.
Well, and I think that's really where I want to go with this whole conversation about Kickstarter and looking at things from 3 years ago and having a sense of market forces is you have to be the thing that drives me crazy talking to some creatives is when they become over-invested in a specific social channel. Like the only thing that they are directing people to or through is Instagram or Facebook or something that
they put all their eggs in one basket.
Right. There was this whole company that their whole thing was they designed like little images for Snapchat's geofences.
Oh, I remember that.
So you had to be in a certain location and you could get this one little like doopy icon.
And dear listener, this was a big, fast-growing company in Winnipeg.
Well, they were the first movers. They blew up, and then every other company was like, "Oh, we can do this," and I think they disappeared overnight.
Yeah, because they had hired, like they were hiring like crazy,
nonstop. Like, we got to get people. We got to make this big.
And then all of a sudden, gone.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit.
It's so important to remember that the platforms are going to continue to change, and it's important to be watching for that to happen and to be able to adapt when it happens.
Part of like
I have a
Steven's like feeling of grossness is like Kickstarter and Instagram and all these are kind of dictating how you need to act online
in
to
the real
get
world.
them to react, right? Like if you want to be good on Instagram, here are the rules you need to follow. You need to make a reel and it has to have a voiceover and it has to do this, it has to be 2 minutes, blah, blah, blah.
I read somewhere,
or else it doesn't work.
I read somewhere, I think it's related to X, formerly Twitter. Your post lives or dies in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you don't get any reactions to it in that time, it disappears basically from everyone's
Just
feeds.
delete it and repost it again. Try again.
Because no one is going to see it now. And that's what social media is a very narrow window.
The most recent like guru I saw talking about how to manage on Instagram was like saying the quiet part out loud. Nobody sees, like they were Instagram representatives. Since nobody sees your stuff, you should take the last 10 posts that you posted and post them all again in the same order.
It's gross.
Right?
Yeah.
Just keep doing that until there's engagement and then change.
Until we change our mind and then, you double posted stuff and we'll shadow ban you for that. You know,
Right.
You have no, until you see another video explaining why it's not working anymore.
Absolute nonsense. Just, it feels like the snake oil salesman of the old West, right? Just showing up in their carts.
And I mean, that really it goes all back to the idea that like there are certain evergreen places, like the community you build. A lot of people will swear by their own newsletter, things that you can control. But you were going to come up with a counterpoint that you were saying earlier.
My counterpoint this is, it used to be. See, dear listener, I'm the old man in the room, and so I remember 8 tracks. I remember cassette tape. Actually, I remember records, 8 tracks, cassette tapes,
audio reels,
right? CDs, right? I remember one technology subsuming another.
Yep. VHS, DVD, HD, DVD, Blu-ray.
Right? That used to be how it was. That's over. Now it's everything at the same time. All those technologies I listed.
As long as you have a subscription.
Right? No subscription. This is what I'm saying. All those technologies were produced in the hundreds of millions of units and still exist in the marketplace and are all being used by users who want different experiences, and communities are growing up around those shared experiences. There are people who gather out in cabin country swapping their 8 tracks. Whole communities of 8 track swappers having a grand old time, right, in a parking lot out of their trunks.
That reminds me of those communities that live without power or internet, and they're out in an island somewhere. They have no idea what's going on.
But what I'm saying is, and this is pertinent to just yesterday, on Last Breed launch day, was also
available now.
Available now.
Everywhere the books are sold.
Everywhere the books are sold. This part is the commercial. Princess and the Dragon, our independent movie, we are also doing on physical media.
Soon to be available everywhere.
Soon to be available everywhere. You can
pre-order it now.
You can pre-order it on Apple. Actually, it'll drop on April 7th.
There you go.
But Princess and the Dragon, we're doing a physical media edition, special runs for the conventions. And so I went to a Jonathan took it. I can't name it. I think they're called Ironside Technologies here in Winnipeg. and they produce CDs, DVDs, HD DVDs,
Blu-rays.
records, Blu-rays, all these kinds of things.
They produce records?
Yeah, like LPs.
Records are hard.
Well,
Go on.
What I'm trying to say is, talking with the boss there, asking how it's going, he said, market's coming back. It's all coming back.
Yeah.
Right? More and more business in the physical media space.
I bought an iPod last year.
Right? So all this stuff is there. And everyone is just going to pick their experience now. How our experiences are dictated to us, that's eroded away. Right? It used to be when I went into a new bookstore, like a chain bookstore, the ziggurat of books would tell you what the hot book was. Right? I don't use that now to figure out what I want to read at all.
Yeah.
You know?
I usually avoid those just off.
Yeah.
Like,
Self-discovery.
yeah.
Yeah, just
On a
just
quest
in
of
that
self-discovery.
quest of
Yeah.
self-discovery. So, is that cagey new fighter that has entered the ring actually just a person who knows how to protect themselves? You know, extrapolating the metaphor as if it's a person, but this market
I think
space-
people want to be marketed at
Yeah.
less than ever before.
Yeah.
And are more aware of it than ever. But I want to sell books.
Yeah. Yeah. To use your boxing analogy, like if you got in the ring, maybe you want to be punched in the face. And these people have got in the ring and they're like, they're not interested in boxing even. They just happen to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I just showed up.
Yeah, they just showed up. This looks interesting. Let me
Yeah.
try it for a day.
Yeah.
Right? So
But I like making books and I want
So
to
do
sell
I.
books.
I love the printed word. I love the printed image. I love the juxtaposition of them together, which is the magic of comics. I love how it affects an audience. I love the way that it lives and lives and lives. I went to the Children's Hospital book sale, the comics book sale, and I pulled stuff from 60, 80 years ago. Read it with the joy, like it.
Right.
That could never be marketed to me.
Right.
I had to find it by accident.
Yeah.
Right. In that quest of self-discovery.
Or it had to be shoved into your hands.
Yeah.
So
But you know what I saw at that Children's Hospital book sale? It was the comic sale. They do a bunch of different ones a year. A whole bunch of faces that I absolutely recognized from the Comic-Cons.
Right.
Faces
From the community.
from the community
Yeah.
itself that loves the thing.
Yeah.
These are not people who, like some of them I knew well, right? And some of them were just tangential, like, oh yeah, we're the same in this way. And where they exist now in the rank of people that I'm going to look out for is much higher because I'm like, oh, you'll even show up at 6 a.m. to dig through bins for charity.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
let's do it. So what's our takeaway here? What's the...
Well, do you have any other letters that need to be read?
Sure, any other letters? Well, let's see.
Because I still have to talk about the one nice thing that I have to say about the Kickstarter.
Okay, you have a nice thing.
That
Okay.
I'm going to wrap up the episode with.
Okay, I'll say this. On that note, says this letter, it was insane to see Kickstarter as a beacon of a declining economy. Like seeing other Kickstarters that were very similar to our own tank, constantly reminding us that this could be us. The current state of comics Kickstarter being a logical progression, maybe, of how last year's convention season has gone.
And now that is a comment, Justin, we've talked about this on the podcast before. It feels as though we're currently in a convention dip. People's in the takeaways from the convention started to pull back a little bit.
The weather report is that a lot of people are feeling the dip.
Yeah, it seemed like we had to work a lot harder to match numbers from last year. And when we managed to match numbers from last year, we were proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is exactly
This
what
is the
we're
same as the
talking about.
Kickstarter.
A lot of
experience.
people
More
like
effort,
taking
same
the dips.
return.
Yeah.
But I think we also kind of agree that it's a lot of factors. It has nothing to do with
Right.
our work and the quality of our work and
It's almost a bellwether for the larger economy
Yeah.
and people's available income, disposable income.
all of us are pretty determined to weather the storm, and none of us are like, it's over, time to
Well, because
find
we're
another
not,
job.
let's face it,
We're stuck.
it may be how we make money. We're not in it for the money, right? We're
Right.
like, we nearly need to pry Justin away from his tablet. Like, he would draw robots, dinosaurs, monsters all day, every day without eating or sleeping if he could.
I get in before you guys do, so I can get all my work done.
It's true before we try to talk to him.
That's right. Yeah. So, like, we're going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? And if I do it alone in my cardboard box, on the walls of my cardboard box down by the river, then I guess that's what I'll have to do. But I won't stop doing. Right? And when something becomes trendy or a way to easily extract money, all the other charlatans and imitators show up. And I think we've seen a lot of that on those platforms, is the people who have the copy of a copy of the copy.
Well, we've seen that at Comic-Cons as well. Like, how many booths showed up like, oh, this is a place to make money.
Yeah. So that's the market. You know what my favorite part about the Kickstarter is?
This is what I want to know. You're good vibes now.
I don't have to promote it anymore.
That's
the best part of the whole thing.
What a rug pull. I thought you had something really nice to say. Okay, before we can sign off, for the dear listener's sake, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying Kickstarter's dead, don't do it.
No.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying conventions are in a huge slump, don't do them.
No.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, oh, books are doomed, don't make books. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the water is choppy right now. And what you used to be able to rely on and do easily, you need a bigger sail, you need some more people on the oars in order to get it going. But everything's still floating out there.
And how fortunate are we to be able to build a bigger sail?
Oh my God.
Yeah, like not everyone can make that.
That's
Not at the end of the day, you guys are making your own book.
Yes.
And it's yours.
Yes.
If this was done with like a mid-sized publisher, they'd have all kinds of changes. They'd want to bring in their own letterer, their own graphic designer. They'd want to do it different. They want to print it on way crappier paper in black and white.
Yeah.
And it'd be 4 years before it came out.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
That's option B.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feel better now?
This is not a woe is me podcast. Right. This is just, things are different.
Yeah.
You have to be able
This is a whoa, it's me podcast.
This is a thing when things change, like you have to watch for it and you have to adjust to it and you have to invest in the things that matter to you, because when things get hard, that's the only thing that's going to keep you doing it.
Absolutely true. This has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, but you should get in the ring anyway. This is GMB Kamija encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.